Okay, so yesterday was, but yesterday was talking about banking and stuff. So today we're going to talk about credit. So first of all, how many of you know what credit is, or have an idea? Yes.
It's just when you don't have money, you get money from the bank and they charge you that money back plus money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's kind of like, with credit cards. So credit's the ability to borrow money that you don't have at the time to purchase goods or, that kind of stuff. So when you take your credit card, and you swipe it, that money's not coming from your bank account. It's coming from the bank giving you money to use, and then you're going to pay it back later. So that's the other thing about credit. By using credit, you're promising to pay them back in full amount at the end, or which is more preferable, or at little amounts, at an interest which will cost you more at the end. Okay, so what kind of things do you guys think you need credit for? What would you buy with credit?
A house.
Yes. What else? Car.
Boat.
Boat. Yes.
Motorcycle.
What else besides the vehicle?
Insurance.
Insurance. Yeah. Other kind of stuff.
Loans.
Loans. Yeah, that's a good one too. So yeah, we have house. Good for that one. If you needed to pay a down payment for a lease for an apartment and you didn't have it, that'd be a good thing to use it for. Cell phone bills, utility bills, that kind of stuff. Cars, like you said. Important documents like loans or insurance, that kind of stuff. And then finally, of course, you need credit for credit cards. So recently, as of 2010, Oregon made it so that companies could not just randomly check your credit report when they were trying to figure out if you're reliable, because it's a really good reliability test, credit reports. So, before as part of their evaluation of you, they would say, okay, can you give us your credit score? And if you said no, then of course you wouldn't get hired. So recently they've made it so it's not required unless you go to specific financial jobs, such as a banking job or something like that. Okay, so who here knows when your credit officially starts? When does your credit life start?
When you go to the bank, right? Get a bank account.
No, not quite. Close.
When you get a job.
Very close. So it's once you start borrowing money. So it's not just giving $5 to your friend to go get lunch. It's once you officially take out a loan. And a credit card, acts like a loan. So credit cards for a lot of people are when it starts. But once you start giving out loans, or it's accepting loans, borrowing money, that's when your credit actually starts. So you can get them, through local companies or banks. If your parents, help you co-sign for college loans, a bunch of you have those coming up in the future, or through secured credit cards. And the big thing about credits and credit cards and everything with it is they want to make sure you use it responsibly. Make sure you pay everything promptly right away. And then like we talked about yesterday, don't bounce into your checks. Don't write your checks for more than you have in your balance, because that will definitely hurt you. Okay, so as a borrower, you have a couple of responsibilities. Only borrow what you're going to be able to repay. So if you had $10,000 in debt on your credit card and you're working a minimum wage job, you're not going to be able to repay that. So make sure you avoid that kind of stuff. When you go for a contract with a credit card or a loan, make sure you read the contract thoroughly. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. If you do happen to run into getting a little bit of debt, pay off right away. Don't wait and save it for later. And if there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to pay that debt off, make sure that you notify your creditor. See if you guys can work out an agreement, so you can not pay as much, or they can give you a break. And finally, if your credit cards, are lost or stolen, report it right away. So that way, people can't run up, your credit card account, and you won't be responsible for it. Okay, so you're going for a loan or a credit card or something. What would be the reasons why someone might deny you credit? Well, if you're going for a credit card, they're most likely going to give it to you no matter what. But if you're going for a loan and you don't have any credit history, it's not going to work too well. It's like if you didn't know me and I was asking you for $200,000. You wouldn't just give it to me because you don't know. I could be a millionaire or I could be someone who doesn't have a house or a job. So, you don't really know what you're doing. Another thing is if you do have credit history, but you've made a bunch of bad payments, you haven't done them on time, they're not going to give you a bunch of money to go give to other people because you're not reliable. You're not a reliable customer, and they want people who are reliable. And finally, if you are a victim of like someone stealing your credit card but you didn't report it in time, then that can still show up and that's going to count against you. Okay, so how do these companies find out what your credit is? Well, from the mixture of payments, credit limits, public records, and companies that have requested your report, all that information is sent to an online credit database. So that's all accumulated, and then companies and you yourself can check it out and see what's made up of that. So how would you personally get a copy of your credit report? Well, you can go to this website and this website alone, annualcreditreport.com. This is the only one that gives out free ones. And there's 3 different types of reports you can get from there: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So through that, you will get information that looks like this. If you turn to page, I believe it is 46 or 51, let's see. Right around there. It should look something like this. A bunch of lines on it, kind of like this. Yeah, so that's an example of what a credit report would look like. So, it has your name and all that kind of stuff. But it has every type of credit account that you would have. It would have, if you had credit cards or loans or everything, that would all show up on there. If you made any bad payments, how much you have left to pay off. All that stuff's on there. It's pretty much a big database of everything on there. So, why would companies want to know this? Well, there's companies, separate companies, that do that to find out what your credit score is, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But so, to get your credit report, you get 1 free copy every year from this agency at annualcreditreport.com. So don't mistake it with the commonly advertised freecreditreport.com. This is a bad site. This is one that says everything's free, but it's really $18 a month and then it's free. So it's not really what it says. So only annualcreditreport.com is the free one. You can also go and get a free report if you went to apply for a loan and you didn't get it, and you can go in within 60 days and check out, what was wrong, why didn't I get it? Other than that, it's going to be about $9 every time you check. So it's not something you do when you wake up every morning and want to figure out what your credit report is. It's something you do sparingly. Okay, so now you have your report in your hands. What do? You want to check it over carefully. You want to make sure that everything on here is correct. And there's no false information, make sure that, they've got, well, of course, just your basic information, right? But then all of your accounts and stuff. Make sure there's nothing extra, no payments that are wrong in it. Because if there is, then that can hurt you when people look at your credit report. So as a borrower, you have the right to see what's in your report, make sure it's accurate, and then get any changes to it that's necessary. Tell your side of the story, because, it may be disputable on, whether something should be on there or not, and get it fixed right away. You also get to know who's seen your credit report, so whether or not the car company actually checked up on your credit, or who else has checked up for, whatever reason. Okay, how many of you have heard of what a credit score is? You heard of a credit score? Yeah, what is it? What does it measure?
I think it's
What is the credit score measure? You don't really know? Well, credit score, it's kind of like a grade for class, except it measures your financial capabilities. You have on the low end here 300 and the high 850. So, it's a measure of how well you are with your finances. The most commonly used one is called the Fair Isaac Company credit score, but there are other ones out there, but this one's used by 90% of banks called FICO.